One concept that we want to look at in our One concept we want to look at in our animation is timing and spacing. So right now in my animation, I have linear movement. So we can see that this ball is moving, and it's moving a certain distance over the course of 24 frames. So it goes from point A to point B, and it moves the same amount each frame. So when we do that, and we look at that, and if we turn on onion skinning, go to the end here, and we can see our frames, and I'm going to even extend out. So as I add additional frames to the onion skinning using the little green plus, we can see how those frames are all evenly and equally spaced. So there's the same amount of spacing on them. We get to the end, we can see it's that same spacing. So when we're moving from point A to point B, we may decide it takes a certain amount of time to get there. But sometimes we want to be thinking about what is the spacing of our drawings. So if I look at another example here, look at this ball, you'll notice right away that things look a little bit different in the onion skinning. And if we play it, we'll see, well, if we play, we'll see how this plays out differently, where it starts out faster and then it slows down. So I've done kind of a very manual version of easing. I'm not using actual easing, I'm just using this to demonstrate this concept of timing and spacing. But we can even turn on another layer, take a look at that, and we'll see that all three of these balls start and end at the same place in the same amount of time. But they're not doing it the same. They have different spacings to them. So if I look at these layers, we can see that spacing. So the bottom one is linear. We move the same amount every frame. The top one starts out with bigger spacing, and then the spacing becomes less and less as the animation progresses. The top one has very tight spacing in the beginning, and then the spacing grows. So spacing determines your velocity, how fast something moves on screen. So even if you were to use video reference of motion and animate over the top of that where you establish your key poses, and if your animation then looks wrong on your timing, but you know the timing is correct because you did use video reference, which you should. Using reference is something good animators do all the time. But if your spacing is off, so how quickly you're accelerating and decelerating into things has a profound impact on the visual result in your animation. So these are getting, again, start and finish at the same places at the same amount of time. But they are spaced differently, and that gives each of them a different effect. One feels a little bit snappier to start, one is snappier to finish, and one is just kind of boring and it's just moving. So as you work on your animations, you should always be thinking about the timing. So you have your poses or positions or places where you want something to be in a certain amount of time. But how you get there, how you space that, that is where the life comes into your animation.